Good morning. It's Saturday on the New Thought Media Network. Welcome to the Science, Mind, and Spirit Conversation Series. I'm Reverend Barbara Jean Schreiner Trudell, founder and spiritual director of the Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake in Toronto, Canada. Now, as you probably noticed from at the beginning here, there is a team of us that join you every Saturday with here on New Thought Media Network to have a conversation about science of mind, the principles, the practices, and more than anything else, how to apply those principles in your life today. So if you're watching live, I'd love for you to put a greeting in the chat so that we can have a little conversation together, share any questions, or just say hello. So, today, the way the program works is the first half of the year, January to July, we go through the Science of Mind textbook chapter by chapter. And then in the last few months of the year, we explore articles and resources in the Science of Mind library and archives. And the archives are available 24/7 and help us to go even deeper. We can read more of Ernest Holmes' writings and other resources related to science of mind specifically. There's so many resources that we have to offer, and you can find all of them in the archives at sciencemindarchives.com. So it's a great place to go and get more information. Good morning, Wayne. Glad you're here. So, our topic today comes from Science Mind Chapter 1 In the Beginning, God. So, Ernest Holmes wrote, In the beginning, spirit or intelligence only, no manifest universe, no system of planets, no visible form, nothing but the life principle. God, the Spirit, had not yet moved upon the waters. Then this all being moved or began to create. So, where did Spirit move? Upon what did it move? From whence came its pattern? What means or power did it employ? Through what agencies did it work? In short, out of what is the world, ourselves included, made? And how did we and all other physical manifestations come into being? Wow, big questions, right? Big questions. If we suppose spirit to be the life principle running through all manifestation, the cause of all, then we must suppose that it has substance within itself. It is self existent consciousness and also self existent substance. Spirit makes things out of itself through some inner act upon itself. And this inner act must, of course, be an act of consciousness, of self perception, of self knowingness. What God knows is, and this has been called the Word of God, the self contemplation of God. So God goes on to create us in its image and likeness. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that, God is 5'2" and female and, short brown hair. What it means is that I am the very essence of God made manifest. So the attributes that I would apply to this infinite eternal light and presence would be the same attributes that are within myself. Cool, eh? So in the Science of Mind text, on page 65 of my version of the text, Holmes wrote, God made the mechanical universe, the plant and animal life, but this did not satisfy it, for it wished to create a being who could respond to and understand it. So it created a being who had real life within itself. God could do this only by imparting its own nature to this being whom it called man or human. It must make him in its own image and likeness. Man must be created out of the stuff of eternity if he is to have real being. Humanity must partake of the nature of divinity if it is to have real life. So God made man from the essence of itself and clothed this subtle essence with definite form. And God said within itself something after this fashion: if I wish to have a man who is a real being, I must give him self-choice. He must be spontaneous, not automatic. I must give him, he must have dominion over everything that is of less intelligence than himself. I let him name everything I have created, and he shall have all things to enjoy, for his life must be full and complete if he is to express my nature. So we were given dominion. We were created to name all of existence. And whatever we name a thing, that's what it becomes for us. Hmm. Pretty interesting thought, right? So, in the beginning, God. So, when we take a look at the fact that our word has power, that it is our thoughts that actually move this nothingness into form, we begin to see clearly, or hopefully clearly, how we begin to create the life we're currently living. Now, I don't know if you listen to the average conversation or newscast or, um, oh, I don't know, maybe the podcast here and there, but oftentimes we hear a number of things that actually run through many, many of us in different ways. And a lot of it is, oh, I'm so sick and tired of, or I am so broke, or we complain. Yes, we complain. So, if in the beginning is the Word, and the Word is with God and was God and is God, and that it is the very thing, it is our thoughts that move this dynamic energy into form, would it make sense then that anything we put behind I am is going to manifest? And if we really think about it, are the words that we are saying lining up with what it is we truly desire in life? Oops. I think sometimes we forget the power of our word, realizing that we have a choice between thinking things along the line of neutrality or labeling things bad and wrong or right and good. And I think the minute we label anything, we've actually imparted our own perception of reality onto that thing. And that, in fact, is not capital T truth. Capital T truth comes from the idea that I am the I am presence. And that all that I think about, all that I dream about is going to move into form based on my own perception of reality. So I get to choose what my life looks like. Free will. We were all given free will. Now, when we take a look at it more scientifically, say from the look of quantum physics, when we take a look at that, we see that everything is really space, that there is nothing. And that within that nothingness, there might be the odd little bit. And somehow, when we think, we move this energy into what appears to be a concrete form, such as our life, our homes, the world around us. So our language is of ultimate importance. What we think, what we say, because thoughts are things. And if we will change our thinking, we will in fact change our experience of the world. This is how powerful we are. See, we're created in the image and of the likeness of this infinite intelligence. So we're not broken, flawed. We're not created of original sin. We are created in the image and of the likeness of this divine presence, which could be described as love, right? Which to me means oneness. It could be described as peace, first cause, spirit, universe, God, whatever word we use. The challenge with describing the infinite is that we have no language that could possibly encompass that which it is. From our finite perspective, our ability to comprehend God is way beyond the scope of possibility. However, if we begin to look at all thought as possibility, that whatever it is we dream about, we actually can move it into manifestation by focusing our attention on that which we desire rather than that which we do not. But what do we see most often? I know when I sometimes listen to my own thinking, it's like, oh no, this is bad, terrible, or this terrible thing happened, or oh, okay, let's interrupt that. What I think about, I bring about. What I resist continues. Okay. Resistance causes whatever it is that I'm resisting to stand strong and powerful. So, the most important thing we can do right now as we begin to work these principles is to realize that my words create my world. Now, they don't create anybody else's, but they do create mine. So, if I'm thinking about how hard life is, or how difficult life is, or how unfair life is, I get to be right because the universe responds in one way and one way only, and that is to say yes. So as I put words into this world that I live in, what happens is those words bring back to me experiences that match. Pretty cool, eh? So in the beginning, the word was with God, the word has power, the word is God. It is thought that moves all things into manifestation. So we begin with an understanding of our own power. And if we can go to that place of knowing our power, knowing that we are valued and valuable, that we have been created with a very unique and special attribute, a little something that we bring into this universe at this point in time that no one else but us can bring. You see, each one of us is created unique and special, no two alike. And so, what I'm here to do is for me alone. So we begin to question some of the ways we are in the world. If we realize the power that is within us is this divine power that's infinite, if we would take a look at how we respond to life and the journey, we begin to see that competition really is irrelevant because what I bring, no one else can bring. So who do I have to compete with? The second thing is no one is more important, higher, better than anyone else because you see, we were all created in the image and of the likeness. We were all created perfect, whole, and complete. Now, that doesn't mean that we behave in that way. Okay? It just means that our potential lies there. And that the thoughts that we have are the ideas of possibility, the opportunities for us to create something new, something different, something beautiful, bright, something remarkable or exquisite. We have the ability within us to do, to be, to have whatever, whatever it is that we choose. So the journey that we're on is really one of self discovery, where we begin to remember who we were when we entered this stream of consciousness, this life at this time. See, we came in as little bitty packages, and we were given to people who may or may not have known that we were created unique and special. And so sometimes parents decide, "Well, I want my son or daughter to be, or my child to be a lawyer or a doctor or veterinarian or to run the family business or to be a famous singer or actor." But the truth is that each child, each person that comes into form, comes with a task, a little something, something unique to them alone that must be brought forth during this lifetime. And so the journey that we walk is one without a destination. The requirement is that we show up authentically and live from our own personal reality and remember whose we truly are. It is quite a remarkable journey, to say the least. All right, moving on in the book. So, in here, of course, they have the account of creation from our perspective, but he goes on to write describing the infinite. Any account of creation, however brief, implies, first of all, a universal intelligence which is omniscient, all knowing. We call this intelligence God. And in philosophy, the word reality is used. In science, the word principle. The reality of philosophy, the principle of science, and the God of religion all have much the same meaning: the nature of the universe in which we live. We describe it as God, spirit, reality, truth, absolute intelligence. We believe in an absolute intelligence because such an intelligence is manifest throughout the universe in which we live. Wherever we look, we see it at work, whether it be the intelligence in the atom or the convolutions of thought operating through the brain of a Socrates or an Einstein. Consequently, we state our first principle as an absolute intelligence. So when we look at the idea that we are dealing with intelligence, that we live in an intelligent universe, that the way we look at life, the way we perceive reality, actually alters and moves creation to match what it is that we believe we see. And I know I've heard many people say, I'll believe it when I see it. The truth is, we will see it when we believe it. So, as we journey along together today, my hope is that we would come to understand the power individually that we have and how that impacts the collective. You see, as each one of us finds our authentic voice, as each one of us begins to live our unique and divine purpose, we start to create a world that is much more harmonious, a world that actually reflects a consciousness of oneness. You see, as I see myself as whole, it is so much easier to look upon those in front of me and see them in the same fashion. If I believe I'm broken and flawed, odds are pretty good I may project that onto the people around me, in which case I am infringing my ideas and thoughts onto them. Now, I know as a parent, I have done this in the past. Yes, guilty as charged. But over the years of studying science of mind and coming to understand this journey that we all walk, what I've come to realize is that the way in which I judge another person can only come from my own limited perception of reality. So whenever I sense that I am being judgmental, critical of self or others, I check in. I check in to see, hi Shay, I check in to see what it is that I'm really thinking about, and then where that may have come from. See, a lot of what we believe about the world has nothing to do with our beliefs, but rather the collective consciousness of those who raised us, who schooled us, and who shared time with us over our life history. So, a lot of the beliefs we have are not necessarily ones that came with us into this life journey, but rather that which was imposed upon us by those around us. So, one of the great things that we can do is begin to explore what it is we really believe. And when a belief comes up, check in and just ask the question. The other thing we can do is take a look at the way in which we judge and criticize. The judgments and criticism that we hold come again from some unmet need within ourselves. And so we look at things like competition or the idea that, oh, if I was just like that person, then I would be enough. But what if, just what if you are enough? What if, in fact, you are created in the image and likeness of God? What if? What if the consciousness that was in Jesus the Christ is the same consciousness within you? What if the power that Jesus seemed to possess is the very power that you have within you, and that it is moved and directed through your thinking? that how you think about life, how you think about yourself, creates the world that you live in. The way I think about life, the way I think about myself, creates the world that I live in. What's really, really beautiful about this is that as we begin to discuss or think about our role in the creative process, it's very empowering to begin to imagine something remarkable. So there's two things to keep in mind. One is what is, all right? It's already been created. So there's no way for me to recreate it. However, how I look at it, the way I judge it or not, begins to create my next moment. Our thoughts are the most important thing we have. It is our thinking that creates the world that we live in. So I listen rarely to the news because it's only negative. And I listen to it rarely because people tell me what's going on. Somehow I never really miss the big stuff. But I don't want to hear a repetitive 24-hour news cycle telling me one story 1,000 times. And the reason why is because my thoughts are creating my life, my world. If my mind begins to hear something over and over and over again, it may in fact forget that it is a repetitive single message and start to interpret it as the norm of society. So I hear of one shooting incident and I assume thousands of people got shot because I heard it so many times. My mind moves into a place of fear, doubt, worry, changing my perception of reality and causing me to suffer or to be in pain. So, what I want to do instead is really check in. When I say to somebody, oh, or I think about, oh, I should do that or I shouldn't do that, it's a good idea to check and see whose should are you living from? Whose should has determined the thing in front of you is good or bad? See, if we can begin to look at all events as neutral, and then from that neutral position decide how, in fact, it impacts what I believe or where I want to go with life, I have an opportunity to look at it with a little more discernment, to use wisdom, to see things maybe from a different perspective, and then to have patience that everything is evolving one day at a time, one moment at a time. Thoughts create. When I change my thinking, I change my world, I change my life. So let's go back to I am. One of the phrases used so often, of course, is I am. We will define ourselves as I am woman, I am minister, I am a doctor, I am a lawyer, I am smart, I am stupid, I am brave, I am fearful, right? All of these I am statements. I am sick, I am well, I am broke. What I want you to really take away from today is that in the beginning, God means in the beginning, the Word. And the Word is power. We were given dominion. We were created to name the things around us. And whatever we name them, that's what they would be for us. Not necessarily for anyone else, but for us. So, what is the name that you call yourself? When you say I am, are you remembering moment by moment to speak of your divinity, your perfection, your beauty, your grace, your goodness, your strength? Are you looking at yourself from a place of wholeness? In the statement of I am, can you look in the mirror and smile and go, wow, I am beautiful. I am loved and loving. I am enough. The language we use and the way that we use it is so essential to the creation of the life that we live. And each one of us was created powerful. You see, nothing's being done to us, but there is something being done through us. And it is this life principle that is operating constantly and continuously. And we have the ability to direct the flow of our lives. Now, you might sit back and say, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. But in the back of your mind, you're going, oh, but if I could just pay my bills, how great would that be? You see, there's a disconnect, and this happens fairly often. And it's the reason why we don't seem to manifest that which we say we truly desire. So, in the beginning, God. In the beginning, the Word, and the Word is power. And the way I use the Word creates the life that I live. I remember years ago when I first got into ministry because my father had trained me that you have to work hard to earn a living. And the challenge I was faced with is I was doing work that I loved, and so it felt quite easy and effortless. Well, that's no good, because how could I possibly be paid for something that is so easy? My dad had convinced me, work hard to earn a living. So it took me a little while before I realized, wait a minute, why am I so tired after my Sunday lesson? I'm doing what I love. It brings me joy. Why would I feel tired? And it's that old idea of having to work hard. So I changed it. You see, hard is just a word, 4 letters, simple. So I decided to replace it with an equally simple word that was also 4 letters. Easy, easy. See, we have an opportunity to create our life in any way we choose. That doesn't mean that every moment will be a bed of roses. It doesn't mean there will never be a bump in the road. However, what it does mean is how I navigate that bump in the road will be different when I understand that I'm using the principle of creation and I'm using it consciously from my true essence. So, let me share an experience I had with you. I just returned from Kenya, from the CSL conference in Kenya, and it was a beautiful, rewarding experience, however, very different than I had anticipated. And I would say even better than I anticipated. So I arrive in Kenya a week ago Sunday. So it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow. And I'm pretty exhausted, pretty uncomfortable, struggling in many ways. And so I arrive at the lodge and they take me to my room, which happens to be at about the farthest point of Maasai Lodge. And as I'm walking, I can barely keep up with the gentleman who has my luggage. And when I arrived at my room, I knew I couldn't walk back down for dinner. So I just crawled into bed and rested for the night. The next morning, as I went down to the lodge to have breakfast and to join the others, I decided I better ask for a different room because I didn't have the ability to walk that distance. Now, I could have called it bad and wrong. I could have called it terrible, awful, but instead I just asked for support. So they moved me from unit number 40 to unit number 1. Made a vast difference. The next day, I had a full body massage, worked out all the crinks and the pain, and the next 2 days were pretty good. But what I noticed was I was still having difficulty breathing. And by the Thursday, when we moved from Maasai Lodge to the KCB Leadership Center, I was taken to hospital by ambulance with the difficulty breathing and found out that I had pneumonia. Ah, yay. So the next 4 days were basically spent in my room. I missed the conference, and I was being cared for by the most remarkable people. Now, during this time, I thought, well, the first few days I had really processed a lot of deep emotional and mental things from my past, from my present. And so I knew that my body was simply releasing physically that which I'd already released emotionally. You see, we are one: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. It's just one thing. And so every part of it is interconnected. So throughout that experience of being in my bed and being away from others, what I realized was the love and care that I was getting from the people of Kenya. The woman at the front desk, Charity. The woman who cleaned my room, Susan. The drivers who took us to and from the airport and helped me in so many other ways, Jonah and Philip. What I experienced was the people of Kenya and the loving, generous, and kind way that they show up. I loved every minute of our time together, and I loved my time alone. Now, this is not real common for me because I've never been much for liking to be sick or anything, but there was just an understanding that I had that this too was God, this too is good. And so I didn't resist it. I just allowed it. On this Sunday afternoon, Jonah and Philip stopped by to check on me. Everyone from our group had gone to another event, and they said, "Look, you need to get out for a minute." And they took me to get some juice and a couple things at the store and brought me back. That in and of itself created a real shift in my overall health. Getting out of the room, being cared for by these wonderful men. When we allow ourselves to fully accept the blessings that surround us, rather than naming things as bad or difficult, challenged, or a problem, we begin to see that everything brings with it the gifts, the multiple gifts of spirit. I had the time of my life when I was at the hospital and the doctors were laughing and joking. The journey that I had when Jonah took me on safari on Wednesday, right in the heart of Nairobi, the Nairobi Wilderness Sanctuary. It's beautiful. It was beautiful. See, we make life whatever it is, and we have a choice to be in the experience of living whatever it looks like on any given day, or to judge the experience that we're having. However, the moment we judge it, we've now removed the potential that is within it. So I invite you this week, as you ponder this particular chapter in the Science Mind, to really remember that you were given the power of creation, that you were created unique and special in the image and of the likeness of this one source. So all that it is, you have within you. The ideas of limitation, the ideas of struggle, these are ideas that we have created from our finite perspective in a belief that somehow we're separate from God. We're not. One with, now, always, and forever, no matter what is going on in the world. We are bound first and foremost by what we think about it. Yes, what we think about it. So we're dealing with absolute intelligence, which is remarkable. So he goes on in the text to say that There is but one volitional factor in the universe, and this is spirit, or the self knowing mind. God did not make God. This is self evident. God did not make law. Law is co eternal with God. God did not make substance. This is also coexistent and co eternal with God. But God did make and does make and is making and will continue to make from eternity to eternity forms. We live in a universe of infinite substance and numberless forms, wherein nothing is moved unless intelligence moves it in accord with law. It follows that everything that spirit thinks must take form. The spirit, being self conscious life, knows and cannot stop knowing. To suppose that it could stop knowing would to suppose that it could stop being. Since it cannot stop knowing, it must forever be setting in motion the law of its being, which law must forever be projecting the form of its thoughts, thereby producing things. Creation is always beginning, but never ending. The slightest thought of intelligence sets power in motion through the law, producing a corresponding thing. Things may come and things may go, but creation goes on forever. This is indeed a wonderful concept, for it means that there will always be a manifestation of divine ideas. They cannot cease so long as God exists, and since God will forever be, there will forever be some kind of manifestation. The invisible will always be made manifest on some plane. Always a beginning, never an ending. We create. It is our purpose to move ideas. And as we think and as we live from our own personal perceptions, judgments, we create the reality that is now ours to live. And to fight it, it's rather senseless, because to fight it would be to hold it in place. Where we focus our attention is always what expands and grows. So we focus our intention and our attention on the creative process. There is a power for good in the universe, and I am using it moment by moment and day by day. And as I journey along this glorious life path that I have, I get to decide whether my life will be one that is fulfilling and satisfying, or possibly creating through struggle, frustration, annoyance, regrets, guilt, fear. See, every thought is simply a choice. We get to decide what we think about. We get to decide where we focus our attention. And this is why the spiritual path is so beautiful. Because if we take time each day to intend to live fully with excitement and delight, as that is our intention beginning the day, we are most likely or more likely to create harmoniously with that idea. If we wake up in the morning and we think, oh no, not another day, it seems like everything from there tumbles inward, creating more discord, disarray, dysfunction, dis-ease. Let us live in a space of ease and comfort. Let us recall the remarkable words of Jesus the Christ, who said, all that I do, you shall do, and greater things than these. See, when I think of Jesus, I think of the power of love to manifest. He taught one thing only: love one another as I have loved you. Love one another. Love one another. not a select few. Love one another. So be kind, be beautiful, be fabulous, because I know you already are. Allow yourself to shine your light so brightly that you begin to model and illuminate the path for those around you. That creating a harmonious, glorious existence happens not by accident, by conscious choice. So today I choose to see myself as enough. I choose to see that life is unfolding and that consciousness is the creative process. That consciousness creates everything. So today I discover new ways, new ideas. I choose to view the world with the idea of possibility. Now what? With excitement and delight. To release fear, doubt, and worry, guilt, resentment, frustration, for those things throw me deep into a ditch, causing me pain and suffering. Today, I choose instead to live from an illuminated understanding that God and I are one, and that I co create my reality with this infinite power and potential, that nothing is withheld from me nor from you, and that the way you are right here, right now, is sufficient to the task that you are here to live and to perpetuate. Life is happening through each one of us, and it is a blessing of immense magnitude. So, in closing, I just want to say thank you for being here. And as we end this time, I hope you'll consider joining us next Saturday and throughout the various weeks for all the programming that we have on New Thought Media. And just know that as you share it with friends and family, that this too can assist others in becoming really positive, productive, and happy, fulfilled people on this beautiful planet. We begin to see that all things are possible. So if this programming serves your well-being, please consider making a donation to ntmedia.org. Go there, hit the donate link, and maybe even make it a recurring donation so we make sure that this programming continues on and on and on and on. Thank you for sharing your morning with me. I am truly grateful for the opportunity to serve, to be with you, and I trust that something said or done provides you with a level of insight or possibility that creates a great day, but not just a great day, a great life for you. This year, I decided my word for the year is self-care, self-care. I invite you to pick a word for yourself, something that you really aspire to, something where maybe you feel you could do a little bit better. Make that your word of the year. And as you live it, just know that you do make a difference. Thank you for sharing your morning with me. I'm Reverend Barbara Jean, and please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, remember, life loves you, and I do too. Bye for now. Namaste.